As many of us know, The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald involves a narrator by the name of Nick Carraway, a native Midwesterner, a Yale graduate, and a World War I veteran. And near the end of this saga, we find the following passage, a remembrance, reflection by the narrator, Nick Carraway. One of my most vivid memories is of coming back west from prep school and then later from college at Christmas time. And those who went farther than Chicago would gather in the old, dim Union Station at 6 o'clock on a December evening with a few Chicago friends already caught up in their own holiday gaieties. We would join them to bid a hasty goodbye. And I remember the fur coats of the girls returning from this, Miss This and That's, and the chatter of frozen breath, and the hands waving overhead as we caught sight of old acquaintances, the matching of invitations. Are you going to the Ordways, or to the Herseys, or to the Schultzes? And the long green tickets clasped tightly in our gloved hands. And then last, there was the murky yellow cars of the Chicago, Milwaukee, and St. Paul Railroad, looking just as Christmassy as the holiday itself on the tracks beside the gates. And when we pulled out into the winter night and the real snow, our snow, began to stretch out beside us and twinkle against the windows, and the dim lights of small Wisconsin stations moved by, a sharp, wild brace came suddenly into the air. We drew in deep breaths of it as we walked back from dinner through the cold vestibules, unutterably aware of our identity with this country for one strange hour before we melted indistinguishably into it again. That's my Middle West. Not the wheat fields, not the prairies, not the lost Swede towns, but the thrilling returning trains of my youth, and the street lamps, and the sleigh bells in the frosty dark, and the shadows of holly wreaths thrown by lighted windows on the snow. I am part of that, a little solemn with the feel of those long winters, a little complacent from having grown up in the Carraway house, in a city where dwellings are still called through the decades by a family's name. And even when the East excited me the most, even when I was most keenly aware of its superiority to the bored, sprawling, swollen towns beyond the Ohio, even then, the East had always for me this quality of distortion. And after Gatsby's death, the East haunted me, distorted beyond my eyes' powers of correction. And so when the blue smoke of brittle leaves was in the air, and when the wind blew the wet laundry stiff on the line, I decided that I had to come home.